employees, full-time employees, and you have so much, you given so much responsibilities?
Actually, that's probably something that I didn't elaborate on. But yeah, of course, when I meant you share the business with them, you share equity, you share whatever you can share now. Not all of them joined at one time, so essentially I still started the company, and that time it was just me. So when somebody comes in 2 years later, you have to find a system, find a way to accommodate that person in the business. So for every person I know, I always look at that person as somebody who can play a part in the business. And now if you join, say, even 22 years later, but if you have something to contribute to the company, you will find a way to receive a part of the stake in the company in some way or the other. So you can't just say that I'm sharing with you and do that. So yeah, of course, share in that sense. Coming to the other question you asked, I think you also asked about time management.
Yeah, some tips on effectively utilizing time.
My take on that, personally, I feel time management is all about prioritizing. I don't know why you need workshops for that. Women do it the best. 90% of our workforce is women. I love them. They can absolutely work wonders in any kind of an environment. I mean, the amount of responsibilities they can shoulder in one given day. If you can just observe a few women closely, you will figure out what time management is all about. So kids, home, cooking, husbands, most of them very cranky at all times, and still a happy face on the floor in your office is not a bad way. So prioritizing is where most people lose it. You have 7 things to do, and normally if somebody who doesn't get the time right is the one who feels that all 7 are important and need to be done now. But you have to actually get down to saying that, okay, this one is the most important, and then start that way. So I think that's how I have done it. I wouldn't know more than that.
Can you give me more examples of sharing the business, like 2-3 examples, how you decided how much share or what form of share? All right.
These things are pretty fluid in the sense, in our case, for example, one of the friends came in when the Mumbai office had started, and he actually was in Mumbai at that time. So he said, okay, you look into that part, and whatever business Mumbai was bringing in, that was probably the percentage that he got. So that's how it happened then. But somebody comes in right now, it's not that easy, because you're still a private limited company, and you have certain amount of limitations. So I guess then it works on percentages. You have markets that you take care of, and for those markets you get those kind of percentages and stuff like that. But I think depending on the industry, depending on the business, these things can be very different. But essentially what I'm saying is every business will still have profits, and there will still be a way, dividends, you can call it anything, but there'll still be a way to actually and honestly share your profits with those who bring in business or help it function.
So, if you look back, are there things that you would have done differently with the knowledge that you have now?
Not really, because the industry has evolved with me and I have evolved with the industry. So honestly, I didn't really have anybody to look up to. Neither do I have anybody to look up to now in my own business. And which is why I think whatever happened, whatever was done at that point in time is probably what I would still do. Because it was a very different kind of a setup, in the sense there weren't any right or wrong decisions. It was not a problem of plenty for anybody. So there was work, there weren't people, and that still continues to be the case.
So, I'm not sure if this was addressed in the Q&A, but this automated translators and intelligent systems that are able to, today you take Google and you can practically translate anything to anything. I'm not sure if this was covered in the discussion earlier.
Yeah, that question was asked, but I can tell you again.
How does that become a threat for your business?
I remember in the 90s when I used to work with automobile companies and auto ancillary manufacturers, there was this talk, and essentially I used to work on the shop floor because that's where all the machinery was and the manuals were there, and they needed to know what was in the manuals so that they could repair their machines or whatever. So I could really interact with a lot of people on the shop floor, the people who operated the machines. And there was a lot of fear or talk, so to say, at that time that these CNC machines or all these automations in industries are really going to take away jobs. And if we look back, I think that didn't really happen, in the sense even today there are plenty of people working on the shop floor. So these are tools. Tools need people and people need tools. So you don't replace each other, you use each other to reach somewhere. And finally, everybody, be it the tool or the translator, is trying to do the same. Is trying to offer a service, is trying to satisfy some client's requirement somewhere. Now, somebody needs 10 pages translated in 1 hour. How do you do that? It's humanly impossible to do it. If it's really a need for whatever reason, it still needs to be addressed. Now, these software were produced because not one person but thousands of people seemingly had this need, that I want it now. Now, once you want it now, you can use the same Google, pick up anything that's available on the internet, put it in Google and see what kind of translation it comes up with in Marathi. That's the kind of translation, more or less, it will come up with in any language. English is by far their best performance. And I just answered that question. It's still free. The reason it's free is because it's not good. It's getting better, and I'm actually not scared of it. I'm waiting for the day there are tools such as software translation engines. There are already software translation engines. We're waiting for them to get advanced so that it can replace all the mediocre people in my profession. And there is a very, very emergency, so to say, that all these seemingly people who feel they can translate need to be replaced by machines, so that people who can actually translate can edit that work.
It's an interesting
So,
thing.
it was, in your own words, it was not an honor to listen to you, but it was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you.
What is the name of the book, title of the book you wrote?
The name of the book is Know Your Words Worth, and the subtitle is Translation as a Career.
Okay. Actually, I'm part of a book club, and I would like to invite you to address these and
That
have a
will be a
book
pleasure.
reading session. Yeah. Thank you.
Couple of times you mentioned about negative turnover. It seems to be very important to you. Can you tell us, is there any story or how significant it is for you or your company?
No, it's just sometimes frustrating, you know. We face the same problem for the last 22 years, and you're trying your level best to change it. And that's the problem. The frustration is not because it's shared. The frustration is because it's localized. So everybody is an individual translator, and you have very few companies, very few. In fact, if I can say this, you would probably find only one company in the whole country, which is ours, where you can actually walk into a company where there are translators sitting like in any other IT company. Of course, you'll have translators working in-house in IT companies, but they are IT companies, they're not translation companies. Now, so in an IT industry kind of a situation, in engineering, it's a few people coming together. You have numbers. So if you have a problem, you solve it together. If we have a problem, I solve it, or he, she, it, they solve it. That's about it. So it's just localized to the industry and more specifically to us. So I guess that's what really makes us very finicky about that word negative turnover. I mean, it's not like we want that money very desperately, but more than the money, it's so difficult. You come and tell me I have 300,000 pages to translate from French into English. Take your time, but I still want it. And I'd say, I'll probably give you an answer such as, we can start working on this next year. And then you say, okay, so we don't want you. And it's really frustrating to answer people, how do you do that? but you can't even take it up because finally at the end of the day